Hello, welcome to this new interview from the Cloud Report. I'm Friederike, Editor-in-Chief, and today I'm very happy to talk with Franco Sollner from Novatec about OpenAPM. Before we learn about OpenAPM, please introduce yourself. Tell something about complexity of cloud environments and observability, and then go ahead. Please start.
Thank you, Friederike. Hi, my name is Franco Sollner. I'm happy to hear to tell you something about open application performance management. I'm senior consultant in this area for over 12 years now, and I'm responsible for our open source application performance management portfolio here at Novatec. Novatec is a service provider for different IT services regarding digitalization, modern technologies, cloud infrastructure and platforms. And so that's the reason why we are offering a service regarding application performance management and observability, because we want to take a look in our cloud infrastructures and applications.
Great to have you here. So, what means observability and why is this a challenging object in the cloud environments?
So let me show you something. Observability, as we interpret that, is has three main pillars. So we call that the Trinity of observability, because it is made of metrics, events and logs, and traces. So that's the three main pillars of observability. So that means, for example, metrics are, let's have a short example here, CPU usage. That's a numeric value that could be aggregated, and it shows us a historical value of the CPU load, for example, and that's a metric. So that's one of the three pillars. The second one is events or logs. That means, for example, we see here a screenshot of a log that shows us the access of a HTTP path and the HTTP method, the get method or the post method, and a timestamp. So that's a string normally. So that means that we could not aggregate these values. And that's the second pillar here. And the third one are the traces. Traces are in our source code, are showing us the methods and how long does it take to call this method. So how long does it run? How long does it take to execute a method? And which values are operated in this method or in this function. So that shows us detailed information of the complete code flow. So how was it executed and where are any problems, for example, regarding performance or its functionality. So that's traces, the third pillar. And observability is I would say the foundation of application performance management, short APM. So observability makes it possible to have a value added APM feature. For example, on these three pillars that we have seen before, the following features are based on. So, for example, baselining or dashboards, alerting, business transaction detection, reporting, service level monitoring. That is all based on observability on these three main pillars: metrics, events, and traces. And the whole set of features based on observability is that what we call application performance management. So that means we have to have an observability solution with these three main pillars to do an application performance management. So, and for that, I would like to show you our OpenAPM initiative. So we have founded this initiative to show our customers how an open source application performance management solution can be created. Because on the market, there are many different tools to do different things in observability and APM, and different tools to get the different pillars that we have seen before. And it could be very complex very quickly. So that's the reason why we would like to simplify the creation of a complex OpenAPM platform. So if we take a look on our openapm.io webpage, we have the possibility to start creating our OpenAPM landscape. And what we've seen here is we could include different agents, for example, for the data collection. What we see here is our inspected Ocelot Java agent that is also open source and comes from Novatec. And this agent will collect the data in our Java applications and then send the metrics and traces, for example, to our backends. These backends could be, for example, a Prometheus server or a Jaeger collection server. And in those repositories, we can store the data. Additionally, we could collect the logs via Promtail or Loki and visualize all those three main pillars in Grafana. And that's what I want to show you now in real life scenario. So for that, I have prepared a demo application, a Spring Boot application, so Java-based. And many of you may know this application. It's the Pet Clinic. So the Pet Clinic is a software to show how different functions or methods can be done in Spring Boot. And it should be a software that could be implemented in a veterinary. So that's the Pet Clinic. That's a software that could be implemented in a clinic for pets. So to have an overview of all our customers in this pet clinic with their pets, and we can search for the owners, and we can edit the owners or add new pets. So for example, if I add a pet to George here, for example, Tom the cat, and it was born last month, submit. Now George has Tom as pet. So that's a pretty easy example here. And what I want to show you now is I have different dashboards in my Grafana front end. For example, regarding the system metrics that shows me how's the CPU utilization, how many numbers of, or how high is the number of CPU cores here, what's the disk utilization, what's the disk space that is free, and so on. So different metrics regarding the systems that are used here. So the Pet Clinic is a typical microservice application. So every service here uses its own CPU utilization and disk utilization, and we see the different services, how much of these resources they use. So that's the beginning of the troubleshooting process, for example. So if you have the system metrics, that's one indicator what could be wrong in your system. The next level would be to get an overview of your JVM metrics. So for example, the JVM, how much CPU does it use? What's the memory utilization, heap or non-heap space? What's the number of live threads? What does the garbage collection memory says? And all those metrics could be break down per service. So we can see on which service this error comes from, or where's the problem. And yeah, that's the next level, how we can identify an error or a performance issue. And one other way is to take a look on the HTTP paths. So for example, we can see that different paths has different number of requests. So for the last 6 hours, in this case, 2,341 requests of the pet types has been done. And how was the error rate? Or how was the average response time in this time frame? And yeah, there are the different metrics to these different HTTP paths. And now, if we have, for example, a high error rate here, and something is red or something is not working as we have expected, we could take a look in our logs. And in this case, we have the second pillar of observability. So, for example, I have done an example with the cat Tom, and there was an error, so I could search for Tom. And now I have different log entries where I can troubleshoot. I can click on them and see detailed information about the errors, for example, the timestamps when it occurs, what was the file that is included, what was the host name. The demo is based on a Docker Compose file, so I see the Compose project, the Compose service, and so on. So that's the typical log that is given out on the standard out in Linux. So if I see some problems or errors that I want to investigate more about that, I have the possibility to go into tracing, and that's the third pillar of observability. And now I have detailed information about the complete program flow. So from the first request to the service, drill down into the database, for example. And the last statement that has been executed on database level, for example, to update the pets in the table pets. What we see is how long does it take to write something in our database, or to execute a method, or to read out some data. And we get detailed information about our application or our service to identify errors or performance issues. So that's the complete observability stack. We have seen metrics, logs, and traces.
First, thank you. Just an additional question. We didn't talk about it before, so maybe. So you have the possibility to observe one application. Is there also a possibility to observe several applications parallel, or integrate them into one tool or one page monitoring screen or something?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we suggest our customers to have, for example, distributed tracing. That means that we can collect traces from our front end over the different APIs into our back end to the database level, and see from the first click over different services or different components, how was the different response times, how was the performance, are there any errors on any layer of that? So it doesn't matter whether you see if you click on a web page, it doesn't matter whether you are talking about a front-end monitoring or a back-end monitoring. What we prefer is a full stack observability. So that means that we can deep dive into our different components and to have a holistic APM solution that is including our different components, our different services, and of course, our different applications.
You mentioned at several times that OpenAPM is open source, and you collected their open source tools. Why it is so important for you that it's open source, and what is the advantage of open source, and yeah, which role is Novatec playing there?
Yeah. Open source is extremely important for us because we've seen in the past that many of our customers have some, I would say, problems with their commercial tools. They're too expensive, or the license model was unstructured, or they wanted features that are not yet included in the solution, this commercial solution. So they was bound to this specific solution or vendor, and they could not integrate their own tools or their own developed applications. So it was pretty frustrating for our customers. And a good example is a big insurance that we have for customer for over 3 years. They have used a big commercial tool platform. We're not happy with this solution because it was too expensive. Their features or the feature set was not enough for them. The view, the drill down into the applications was not deep enough. And that's why we have migrated this customer from this commercial platform in an open source based platform. So in their case, they're using Jaeger for traces, Grafana for the visualization, InfluxDB for the metric store, and the Elasticsearch database for storing the logs. And so all tools were open source based, and it was pretty important for us that they could also collect their data as they have seen that in their commercial platform. So that's why we have developed our open source based Java agent, Inspected Ocelot, that is collecting all those metrics and traces from your Java applications. And additionally, we have developed our Inspected EUM server, so end user monitoring server, that is collecting all metrics and traces from your front end. So we are working together with Boomerang.js agent from Akamai to collect the data in the front end. Then we send all those beacons into our EUM server, and there we process that and store that into, for example, an InfluxDB or a Prometheus server.
So when I understand you correctly, you prepared the OpenAPM platform that a user of the platform can click their tool set they want to use and then start observing. Is that correct? Is it really this easy?
Yes, it depends on what we want to deliver to the community is a configurator where you can choose your components. For example, I want to collect my logs with Promtail, and I want to collect Java metrics with Inspected Ocelot. And so I can collect, for example, different agents. The next layer would be to include some libraries that I want to use in my source code. I can choose components for the transport or to format the data. I can integrate different collectors like the OpenTelemetry collector. And then I have to choose something for the storage of the data like Prometheus for metrics or Loki for logs. And then normally you should have something for the visualization or the dashboarding. and that is typically Grafana in our case here. So you could integrate different tools. And for example, I know that I have Java applications and I want to have a deep observability in those Java applications. And for that, I can click on the inspected Ocelot agent. And now what we see here with which components is this agent compatible. So for example, I can see it's compatible with the OpenTelemetry collector, or it's compatible with the Jaeger collector, or it's compatible with the Prometheus server. So that means with those solutions or these tools, I can integrate our agent here, and I can create my own OpenAPM platform that is based, for example, on inspected Ocelot. What is important for us is that you can get a easier way to start creating your OpenAPM landscape, because there are many different tools on the market that are doing different things. For example, you have different solutions for storing your metrics, like Prometheus, InfluxDB, Victoria Metrics, and so on. So to get an overview how we can integrate this solution, this specific tool, and with which components is it compatible, that is why we have founded the openapm.io site, to simplify that process, to create your own APM platform, your open source platform, and to visualize this platform. And it's pretty hard to get a quick overview of all those tools. There are over 100 tools for these different tools. And yeah, that's the reason why we want to simplify that.
That's a really cool aim. And to sum it up, this is also a open source project, isn't it?
That's correct. It's an open source project. That means if you are missing some tools in our openapm.io website and you want to integrate them, feel free to contribute. Right here, you can see how to contribute to openapm.io. And yeah, you can integrate your own tools, or yeah, just let us know, come in contact with us. And we are also very happy to integrate your tool for you if you're missing something.
Great. So thank you very much for this introduction of OpenAPM and the clarifying of what does observability means. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me.
So get in contact if you want to know more. We'll link the OpenAPM page in the description, of course. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.